Let's see, EASE first came into being in March of, I think, 2013. It was an idea of a member of the congregation here at St. Stephen's who is an engineering professor at OSU. They had this empty space, and no one had any idea what to do with it, and he said, I think it'd make a great art gallery. So then Carl Stevens, he was the campus missioner for the diocese, the Episcopal Diocese of Southern Ohio, decided to, take that idea and make it a reality. Like there's no, there's no limit imposed on a need to make a profit. We don't need to sell anything, and if we do sell anything, 100% of all sales go to the artists. So, as part of the mission then of EASE is, let me see, I wrote it. I'm trying to remember it. That we recognize that a just society must have a vibrant arts community. And in order to work towards those ideals of social justice and equality, all that good stuff, artists need a free and open space to come and explore issues that are important to them without any fear of censorship and without any need to have to spend any money in order to do so. You never have to pay here to submit a proposal, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to pay artists to exhibit. But that's just a lot of my ambitious grant proposals that are floating around. And here I really want to challenge that structure, that paradigm somewhere here in Columbus of maybe if you're a nonprofit whose goal is to help artists, you should be trying to figure out how to give them money instead of having your budget model based on getting money from them. That's my soapbox. The current exhibition is titled Discord and Discourse 2015 in Retrospect. And I first started thinking about putting together this show in the spring of 2015 as a reaction to, it just seemed as though there are so many causes of protest that people in this country have become so much more politically active in terms of organizing marches, organizing protests, organizing petitions to speak out against and call attention to a lot of issues that had just that we had begun to, as a society, I guess, that had become invisible. A prime example is the Black Lives Matter. But before that, a lot of us, society at large, did not see the shootings and deaths, killings of young black men in totality as some sort of symptom of there being something, wrong with our culture. They would just be seen as each one would just be seen like taken individually, and what particular town or city it happened in, and oh well, what a tragedy, instead of what the Black Lives Matter movement has been able to do is let's look at all of this happening at once and see that it is in fact problem and a symptom that there's something wrong. So you had that going on. And then we had the appearance of Caitlyn Jenner on the scene, which really blew the lid off of transgender, the transgender discussion within the, under the umbrella of normalcy. Because before you would have, we had people, there was RuPaul, there was Divine, but really they were treated more as like a sideshow, freak show. With Caitlyn Jenner, all of a sudden society had to think, well, maybe this isn't just a couple of weirdos. Maybe this is, maybe these people are real. So maybe there's fully valid as humans. Maybe we're going to have to deal with it. And for better or for worse, there's lots of things that can be, criticized, or faults can be found with the whole, Caitlyn Jenner machine. But for bringing up this question and making it a centerpiece of the social discussion, I think you just can't deny it. So we've got that going on. And then, in the spring of 2015, this was before the Supreme Court had ruled on marriage equality. So it was still a question. And it was very active. People were very active politically, marching and signing petitions and getting out there to express their opinions, either for or against, all over the place, especially here in Columbus. You had, my Facebook feed is going to come out, there's a march, marriage equality is going to be here on this day, this time. We're marching at the State House. And even after the Supreme Court ruling, you've got the craziness happening in Kentucky. So even though the ruling had happened, the subject was not closed, and it still isn't closed for American society and as a culture at large, dealing with these really any earthquakes in our ideas about what America looks like, what America marries, what's morality, what's the family, what's okay in America. So you have all these major issues going on, and then also underneath it, we're becoming more and more aware of income inequality in this country and in the world, and not just attacks on reproductive freedom. That those debates have become much more center as well. Part of that came out of Obamacare. Does Hobby Lobby have to pay for birth control? And then also through, I think a lot of us through social media Beyonce, of what's a feminist. And I think there's been a lot of it's been kind of rediscovered, the term, for the current generation, and they're redefining it for themselves. And instead of a feminist being, a dowdy lesbian, now a feminist is Beyonce. So, and what does that mean? And how much of a backlash has Beyonce incurred, and do these, new young men and women embracing the title of feminine. Okay. So, Columbus and Ohio in general will be in the national spotlight. And Ohio is the scene of multiple shootings of black men and boys that have been that have garnered nationwide attention and are among the events that have helped, fueled the Black Lives Matter movement. Timmy Rice, you have, I can't remember his name right now, but the man who got killed in a Walmart in Beaver Creek. The recent shootings in Cincinnati. The man who was shot in the head on the University of Cincinnati campus. So Columbus is ripe for this discussion. Now, on to the show. So the artists that I assembled, I wanted to definitely include some local voices just because they were already strong artists who were making work about these issues. I invited Melissa Vogley Woods
who, full disclosure, is my compatriot,
right.
Cart Pushers.
Yes,
yes. Just to make sure that that's out
there. Because she has such a great history of a lot of her work throughout her career has really been exploring issues of feminism, specifically like the female body, power, dominance, those types of issues. So I knew she would bring something fantastic to this discussion. And here she has a video installation and a painting. The painting is called Feminist Fat, and it's, as you see, it's like all these things folded and put away and creased. These little creases make reference to, like, physically the body of like a little, a little fat area that body-conscious American women are always aware of. And these things folded and put away are also a reference to, that the unexplored canon of work made by women that, for whatever reasons, has been overlooked and unexplored in the history of modern and contemporary art.
Yeah, let's talk about
a couple
this
of
work
pieces here by C.J. Brazelton.
Who's the runs the Mint Collective, the Mint
Yes, yeah. So he's one of the founders of Mint. He's also obviously a very talented artist whose work, like Melissa's, is interested in bodies, and the power relationships around the body. But in his case, the focus is more on the black male body and what is projected by society at large onto that, and how it is seen. In this abstract work here, it also includes some photographs that have been collaged together, and some of them here is it's a dog's tooth, and you can see here there's a dog's mouth. Someone's sticking their hands in a dog's mouth. And I talked to CJ about this work when he was installing it, and he wanted it. He's like, this is a piece that is about violence and about the association of violence with black men, and especially like the idea of black masculinity, and of fighting and like fighting dogs, and that almost the black man himself is feared as if he is like a vicious dog. And his work, beyond like the images he used, there's also a real focus on the materials that he chooses. And in these cases, these are, work gloves that have been disassembled, and in lieu of canvas, this is a drop cloth that you would use in work. So his work explores issues of class and labor tied into race. So there's that painting, and then there's this sculpture, which is made entirely from paint. This is latex paint that has dried and congealed, thickened enough layers of it that it has become three-dimensional and it has a real physicality to it. So this is the paint peeled from the bucket and placed here.
And I recognize the shape of it because I work as a construction painter.
Yeah.
As my day job, and
Yeah.
I know I'm looking at that, and I think I know exactly what kind of
Bucket that was.
9-inch roller bucket that came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't realize it until you mentioned it there.
And this is one of the things that are those. Sometimes an exhibition can have a beautiful serendipity, these moments. Because when he brought this piece, and after Melissa had already installed her video, and CJ was not aware of her video, and so he brought this piece, and as soon as we set it up and I saw it, I was looking at it, I was really excited to see how this physical, very visceral, sensual looking hunk of paint. This paint is very sexy. The shape, the form, the colors of it. And Melissa's video with this paint bucket and this paint being very sexual and sensual, and the paint bucket is a stand-in for the body of it was just really beautiful to me how, unbeknownst to the two of them, and having both these pieces together in the show, that made this really, I think, a really exciting connection. And thinking of the two pieces together is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. Let's go take a look at that video real quick.
Yeah. So what we've got going on here is even the projection is we are looking through a peephole. We are voyeurs, and we are looking at a dirty movie. This is the choreography is taken from porn and fetish sites, and the paint can is the vagina, the woman's body, and then we have a very, phallic. What are those? Like just the stirring sticks?
Stir sticks,
yeah. So it's all very, extremely sexualized gestures and things that are going on in here. Yeah, even though it's a paint bucket and a stick, it's a very physical
and color is also, from my conversations with Melissa, and the color that she chooses is very important as well. The blue she relates to Eve Klein's blue that he would smear on women's bodies and use women's bodies as paintbrushes and and
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten that. Our discussions. Okay, so we have a tie-in here between CJ's work and this is work by the artist James Payne. James Payne is also a poet. He's in graduate school at Indiana University right now. And a lot of his work is, this is more of our income inequality section of the show over here, our socialist corner. So,
the dirty word.
Yeah. So we have like the photograph he took on his phone of the Statue of Liberty, and this found piece that he got off the streets of Bloomington, this career opportunity sign, of a display here of 911 9/11 memes from the internet, and he asked me if he said, "Can I, put these into the show? Is it going to be all right?" And I said, "Why wouldn't it be okay?" And he said, "Well, they're just pretty offensive," because he was concerned, since this is a church, if people would. If it would be a problem. I was like, "You can do whatever you want in here." He's like, "Really? You can just do whatever you want to do." So I'm glad he decided to include them.
And that's interesting that, I think people hearing that the space isn't the same building as a church and the space is owned by a church, that question probably would come up.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting to hear that really hasn't been.
Yeah, one of the first shows that a couple of young artists to come in and curate the show about gay and lesbian issues to coincide with what is it, the the parade and the march that we have every year in Columbus. The Pride with Pride. So and so that was one of the first things that we did, and they were, some of those artists were like, "Can we really do that? Can we put in whatever we want?" I was like, "Yes, you can have sexually explicit material. It's going to be okay." So you can do that. So this piece is by the artist Robert Reed, who is based in Hawaii. And he responded to, I put out a little Facebook call for submissions for this show. So I wanted a mixture of some local artists, and then I wanted some other voices from other places, in the nation to chime in. And this piece was really, perfect. Like in a way, you couldn't have commissioned someone to do something, better, more appropriate to the theme of the show. This is called OMGO'd, and it's a wearable. So Robert wears this, or would wear this, and he built it in response to that social climate of 2015, and as it continues now into 2016 and before beyond, of how highly charged, this highly charged social and political climate, that he felt as he's a gay man, and the idea that personal is political, that just by being who he is, it's a political statement, his existence, his life.
Mhm.
And it's true really for all of us. What's your gender? What's your race? What's your class? What's your sexuality? Well, then what does that mean about you, and how are you going to vote? So with this piece, he's completely covered. You can't tell how old he is. You can't tell if he's a white man or a black man or Asian. All of those immediate, identifiers and signifiers are lost. And then you're just a big red taffeta, beautiful thing, instead of accumulation of labels and assumptions and all the attendant biases that are associated with them.
And we have some photographs over here.
Yes. Yeah. These photographs are by Julie Ray Powers. Currently, she's an MFA candidate here at OSU. And like Robert's piece, I kind of think of her work as like a response to the discordant social environment that James and CJ and Melissa really directly get in there, and they're fighters in the fray. They're making their statements. They're standing up for their for their beliefs and their sense of what is just or unjust. I see Robert's work and Julie Ray's work are more of, this is how I wish the world would be now. They're kind of more aspirational, especially this. Like, though these look like documentary style photographs, they're both, it was very staged. She put on what she believed is like, this would be the uniform of a gender fluid man, woman, and their relationships. Julie Ray is from, I think, West Virginia, and she identifies as a lesbian, but she still prefers the she pronouns, and she has a very androgynous, I think, approach to her social identity. She's like, what would it be like if, this is a photograph of her grandfather here, and that's her picture juxtaposed to her grandfather's, if that binary gender code of how she grew up, where she grew up, if that were collapsed, if you could just be born in the body of a woman but choose to live and dress and take on the social roles generally associated with masculinity with a man, and it just not be a big deal, what would it look like? And I think these photographs are her attempt to explore that alternative reality.
All right. Well, thank you so much.